Voy a empezar a grabar porque mira, ahí llegó Gary.
Hay una pelea de perros y gatos por ahí.
Sí.
Ajá. Buenos días, Gary.
Buenos dias.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
I don't know,
Huh?
I don't know how long this will be because Adriana and I are both in silence. But
Well, that's where I was when you texted through.
okay. So I'm gonna read the lesson and see what happens.
45.
We're on, sí, la lesson 345, la lección 345. Hoy solo ofrezco milagros, pues quiero que retornen a mí. Padre, todo milagro es un reflejo de los regalos que me haces a mí, tu hijo. Y cada uno que concedo retorna a mí, recordándome que la ley del amor es universal. Incluso aquí dicha ley se manifiesta en una forma que se puede reconocer y cuya eficacia puede verificarse. Los milagros que concedo se me devuelven en la forma que más me puede ayudar con los problemas que percibo. Padre, en el cielo es diferente, pues allí no hay necesidades, pero aquí en la tierra el milagro se parece más a tus regalos que cualquier otro regalo que yo pueda hacer. Así pues, déjame hoy hacer solamente este regalo, que al haber nacido del verdadero perdón ilumina el camino que debo recorrer para poder recordarte. Que la paz sea con todos los corazones que la buscan. La luz ha venido a ofrecer milagros para bendecir a este mundo exhausto. Esta yará descansó hoy, pues nosotros ofreceremos lo que hemos recibido. Hoy solo ofrezco milagros, pues quiero que retornen a mí. And that's the same theme that we've been talking about. You know, to receive, you have to give. You give and you receive. Pues sí. How's it going? How's it going, Gary?
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Not much to really report. I mean, it's just form anyway. So.
Yeah.
And your house is still standing.
Yeah, it's still standing.
So
Yeah.
the lentils and the lamp didn't continue into a.
Well, it continued this morning because I went to make coffee and I hadn't noticed that when the bag ripped open, the lentil bag ripped, some of them spilled over onto the shelves, but they're high. So when I went to grab the coffee can, I got a shower of lentils.
Oh, good.
And then I looked and I saw, okay, so I have to clean the shelves. And of course I have a whole bunch on the floor again. So I didn't put the vacuum away. So that's what I'm going to do after here. I'm going to go vacuum again.
Yeah.
But it was, I was telling Adriana, yes, at some point I had thought, I had asked for inspiration to clean, to at least, vacuum, because I had no inspiration. So when the lentils fell on the floor, I was like, okay, I get it. This is what I have to do today.
Nice. Nice. And you're good, Adriana?
Yes.
She doesn't want to talk because she wants to keep herself as much as possible in the present moment.
Well, okay, fine. I understand.
Yeah, I just have gratitude. That's it.
Let's see.
And then my internet is not too good. I noticed in the last recording. It was very difficult to understand.
You're recording.
Yeah.
The past days, her
It's not recording well. It's like I'm talking and the voice is different from what I'm talking. At least what I
Yeah, but
saw yesterday.
the message is there, so.
Oh, bueno, sí.
we understand it.
Always there.
I always think that if there's a delay or if it's slow, it's because I need it to be slow. And it also keeps my attention. Like I'm like, okay.
What the fuck she say?
Sí. Mensaje llega, the message gets to where it has to go. Para los que tengan oído.
Well, we have ears for everybody. That's how it goes. At one point, we understand that we have received for everybody, and nobody has even to know it but ourselves. And then we see all our craziness, our efforts, and our anguishes, and our agonies, and we see it was really sheer nothingness. I had it all in me all the time. So it's a great recognition. But I can share that yesterday I finished la temporada número 15, 15 de Supernatural.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was watching Supernatural, the show, and she's seen all of the seasons. And she finished number 15 yesterday.
It was actually the last one.
Is that the one with the monsters?
With everything. It has everything. Everything. So, literally everything you can imagine. They've been doing this for 15 years. They say 15, but in the Netflix program, it says the 16. So I don't know if maybe 1 year they did two. But they've been doing this for 15 years. And they did the last one because they at the end where the actual crew came in to say thanks to everybody. But the way it ended, it was so loving, but because the Holy Spirit made like a beautiful ending to all this craziness, which I felt like it was an essay to leaving the body because the song that they use, this is Hillbilly America. So they use la canción esta que dice The Wayward Son. O de rock, yo no sé qué banda es esa.
I don't know who sings that song.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Sí. And I don't know what I don't remember, but that was a very famous song. And I was just dancing with it here because all of a sudden it's very complicated, and at the same time it's just showing that everything is the same shit, but for the sake of the ending, they always through all these years, they betrayed a God that really didn't care about humanity and gave a really a fuck about everything and treated people like they were nothing. And at the end, by one means or another. It's very comical because the son of Lucifer becomes God, and then he ends up saying to people, "Mira, you don't have to pray to me. You don't have to come to me. You don't have to gain anything because you're already perfect and I'm going out and this is your business and I will still wait for you." So there were many references to what we have been dealing with, but a very funny way. And after seeing all this craziness, all these fixings, it was lovely to see that at the end, yeah, there was a party where everybody was welcome, which is a metaphor of what we have to do in our mind.
So it was a good series.
Well, for me, it was because since it's, I'm telling you, these are two guys that are from the beginning, babies. They were the product of a marriage that they were hunters, and they hunted everything. You know, every kind of creepy figure that the human mind or the mind has come up with is portrayed in one way or the other, from werewolves to vampires to jinns, shapeshifters, and a whole lot of mythology and lore. You can go to any mythological subsystem or philosophy, and all the demons are the characters and the beasts that those philosophies believed in at one point or another were incorporated into the show. And then also it was a mixed match too with the other cases, like in which perverse human beings, non-mythological figures, were passing us these figures. Like for example, one of the chapters, it all starts with people disappearing or bodies appearing. Boy, one bodies were disappearing, and when they found out it was a hillbilly family that used them to hunt, instead of hunting animals, they brought them to their farm, and then were they feeling like they were hunted and then sliced and the parts used, and it's kind of like a heavy thing, but for me it wasn't, because I was seeing it for another purpose.
Okay.
But I mean, for them to last 16 episodes, I guess.
327 episodes. I just looked. That's
She's
crazy.
No,
Seasons, 15
no.
seasons, but they said here that it was 327 episodes.
te tiraste 300 and
Ah,
you've been watching that for
okay,
several years. I think you've been watching it for like at least 1 year.
See, okay, it takes time. I think that the first time that I saw it, they had like 12.
12 seasons.
Exactly, and I saw the 12.
It's crazy.
I mean, and also the characters remind me characters in my own life. Like there's one that reminds me of Javier, my son, and so there were a lot of connections there that made it for me watchable.
Yeah.
And
I'll have to
also,
check it
yeah,
out.
it was kind of like that, the challenge of seeing something, of seeing the worst in the worst. And being able to use it to see fear cara a cara, like face to face. Because
It's
for
funny.
some time I would have avoided something like that.
Mm.
ever since I had this awareness that the other night of how to watch TV differently, I find that when I have watched since then, I'm now looking for shows that like pull on me a bit, that almost invite a level of forgiveness. And if it's not there, I'm not interested in watching it. Which is such a different way of sitting in front. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was noticing I was watching a lot of violent stuff, and I think this can't be good for the mind. So I just stopped and went to something chill, more mellow, right? And the mellower stuff was actually more drama and was more. It was demanding on me. It was pulling on me. I was judging these characters on TV until I realized, wait a minute, there is another way to watch this. And that show, it was like the last two episodes of that before it ended. And now I'm looking for something more that does that to me, that demands me to really, to see the judgment. I want to see the judgment in the characters. I want to see that side of this
And
ego.
you don't have, you don't have to actually look for it because it will show up inevitably.
Mm. Sí.
Just as you were avoiding the violence and you go to the other thing that you think that is more nice, and then you find yourself, you will be guided. That's a proof that you can never be wrong, and there's nothing wrong, and that you're not really in charge. You're just in charge of letting yourself be led.
Yeah. But it's watching with a whole nother level of awareness. It's watching with a level of presence, as opposed to letting TV just kind of dumb us down.
Yeah, because you're not using it to distract.
Right.
And it's actually way better because then you start to see like a common thread and everything.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting listening to you talk about supernatural, because it's, it sounds to me, at least the way this mind is interpreting it, is it's all the things that are held in that unconscious world that we stuff down. The ugly, the grotesque, the scary, the frightening, it sounds like that show is bringing all those pieces up.
Yeah, that's why I haven't been able to see it. I've started it and be like, no, no puedo ver esto.
But when you see it enough, you see that they are presenting things with a tone of irony and comedy that helps you see the craziness, because they are kind of funny guys. It gets tiring in a moment because they always have the same dynamic as brothers, and then you can see also the dynamic with other people when you're always in conflict. It doesn't matter what you love. You love the other very much, and you will give your life for him, but you can never say like, okay, I agree with you, or you were good. It's a kind of ego dynamic that is so controversial, and still there's a lot of comedy in it, even though they are addressing all these deep fears and these grotesque scenery and stories. They even go to hell and are possessed by demons and die and go to different levels of conscious and visit heaven, are trapped in hell for I don't know how many years, are revived, all kinds of possibilities with the body, that when you go through that, it helps a lot not to see the body anymore.
Yes, it sounds almost like
if you want to use it for that.
It sounds, again, I haven't seen it, so I'm just imagining but as you're talking, it sounds a bit like all this is the dream state. Like these two guys are just in this dream state, and their dreams are grotesque, ugly, scary
Just like ours.
creatures.
Just like ours.
Right, but their whole notion of travel doesn't need to be anything more than just sitting on a sofa. You know, you're just traveling in your mind.
That's so true.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's the better travel. You don't have to pack bags, go through customs, buy tickets, do anything. It's just all right there. And you don't get constipated in the way. Because my memory of traveling was that I could not shit, you know, and that's not good. Doesn't matter how beautiful the destination.
Unless you get
But
in
yeah,
nature.
it's another whole way of seeing. Hmm?
Unless you get in nature. So when you travel in El Morjon
El
and we're in nature, you shit like beautiful.
Really? We will have to be vigilant for that. We will have to wait and see if that is in our collective story. But
This is my
yeah,
experience.
I know that we will be happy and we will adapt. I have total confidence in the Holy Spirit that we're not meeting este, by chance or there's a, at this point of the game, when we're using everything to heal, connections are being brought up without us doing anything for them to happen, you know? And being so synchronistic and so in the same vibe and so happy and so useful too. Because at one point we will have to meet whoever we need for everybody to get the liberation, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, that means that we have to go in the Morejon and shit in every corner of the, of the way. That would be. Yeah. But you know, it always brings us to the present moment and to the gratitude of everything because we are now not trying to control or define how everything has to be in order for us to feel gratitude. You know, the gratitude is foremost. It's there.
Mhm.
The loveliness is there. The love is there. And then whoever and whatever comes only for us to express that miracle, which is the lesson for today. That we choose to be that in order to give it. And you know, the ego gets very frustrated, but it has no saying when the mind is chosen the spirit and has seen the fruits of the spirit. There's a strong connection to the happiness and the love and the hope and the honor of the spirit that can actually has the power to bless everything. And you know, from that standpoint, when the ego invites you, you can see the obviousness of the invitation of the ego, and you're more to say, no, 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 no. Mira que tú decías, Gary, namaste, boy. Namaste was fuck.
Fuck you.
I see you and I don't want you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, giving miracles is the way to go. Giving and extending miracles.
I mean,
And just for the sake of understanding, the miracles are already there. We're not seeing them because we are choosing the ego. So we are merely taking away what doesn't belong for what it is to be revealed to us because we're not obscuring it with our ideas and our fearful ideas. And in that sense, but like a series like that brings you all forms of possible situations that are not good, and to go through them and to see them and to observe them, but don't. It's a great exercise.
Yeah. You know, many years ago, I had a friend, was a very dear friend of mine, and he now is schizophrenic, paranoid schizophrenic, and I think he became so because of his path for truth. His path for truth was ayahuasca, and he did so much of it that his mind just snapped. But early on, when he started doing it, I went by his house, and I had the invitation to do the ayahuasca with him, and so I did it, and it was up until yesterday, for some reason, it was the most, like, it was one of those experiences that was so dark and so disturbing that the ego pushed it away as wrong. And yesterday I saw for the first time, and why yesterday, I don't recall why it showed up, but I realized that it was the presence of that guilt state, that place that we repress, and it was peeking its head out. And it was the glimpse that I wasn't prepared to really look at. I didn't have the awareness at the time to embrace it on some level, because it wasn't beautiful. It wasn't beautiful. So when you were talking about supernatural, it reminded me of that experience.
And yet the course, it shows you that there's nothing to fear,
Mm.
and that you must go through fear. It doesn't say that you have to stay in fear, but you have to pass through it. You cannot avoid it or push it away. And we've seen many examples where we have opportunities to forgive and we dismiss them,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
they come at us in another way. Because it's a necessary path, We're not pushed to it, but our willingness. And our willingness comes when we are fed up and we see that the ego cannot bring us anything that we really want.
Yeah.
And then we're opening to the possibility of more than what the ego offers us. And then we get to see all our defenses, and they become nothing. And then we're willing to be led. And then when the figure out comes, like the Holy Spirit or Jesus or whatever, your higher self, that it's a presence that is already in the state that always has been, but still it's helpful for you because it was created to help you. and created by you. And it's you.
See.
So it's always in you saying you, okay, are you fed up with dreams? You want to see that? And in that sense, where we can go through all the experiences that are very heavy and fearful with that help, and in the in the disposition that we have for them to guide us and take us through and surrender to them, or to him, or to us, to our higher self, we will go through fear much quickly
Mm.
because it will not mean anything.
Mm.
Actually, it will not mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going through it just to know that it's not anything. Because while we have it like guarded against, or we defend ourselves against it, we're giving it power, and we're creating in it a reality that doesn't have. So we have help to go through fear very quickly. Yeah, because when we accept really the will of God, and we understand really with all the past associations on God and the religions and the will and the madre and all the wording and all the confusions of all the religions and all the philosophy, and we are really going to our source, point, blank, doesn't matter how you call it. That takes only a second.
Mm.
The destination is so big and so beautiful. And that's worrying because it just takes you a second to go through fear. And you go through it every second, every second, every second, every. It's not like I'm going to do all this work to go to a final goal in the future. No, it doesn't work like that. That's the ego distracting you. Como es, mesmerizing you to
Yeah.
feel nauseated and and dizzy, and this is too big for me. I have to work like this. No, 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 no. It works like every second I'm willing to remember God. And when I'm willing to remember God, I remember what I am, and I can see the falseness of everything, and I cannot fear any consequence because I have stated what is the purpose of this second. And I need to do that constantly. Not a future goal, it's a present activity in the mind. And when you align with the will of God, you align with happiness. Doesn't mean that you will have to go, wee, all the time. I must stop because the internet is fucking up. It cannot get what I'm saying.
No, it can't stand what you're saying because you're talking truth. You're
Many years ago in Los Angeles, there was a guy who was a self-proclaimed guru. He was a Jewish guy from New York. He came out to Los Angeles and he gave himself a name, and he created this this whole spiritual scene in Los Angeles. And eventually there was a newspaper in Los Angeles called the LA Weekly, and they sent a couple women in, and they exposed he had some stuff to work out, and so did the women around him, because he was having sex with all these women and the whole night, promising them that they'll be awake and what have you, the story. But one of the things that he used to say, and he was pretty big for a short while in Los Angeles, and
What was the name? Because
his
I
name,
think I saw something.
he went by Atmananda, and then he went by Ramananda first, and then he changed it to Atmananda. So a lot of people used to call him not Mananda. But he'd take pictures, you know, with these beautiful girls sitting on these fancy cars up in the mountain. You know, it was just sort of silly. But one of the things that he said, and I actually knew a guy years ago whose whole family was involved in his trip, and they used to go watch horror films because it was, from this guy's perspective, it was a way to start to see that repressed energy. And you know, it of course for me at the time it made no sense, and I've never been a fan of horror films. I mean, I think The Exorcist was probably the last horror film I saw in high school.
I mean, you don't have to go as far as watching what is said to be horror films, because just a romantic comedy can be a horror film.
Well, of course.
Just just watching like if you know, everything is just the same thing, but we just make it more difficult to watch because we give so much value to the body. So if we see bodies being chopped up, or we see what we think, you know, is physical violence, but that's just a manifestation of the violence that we have in our mind that's going on. The split mind is violent.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to do something that's impossible, which is to kill God. And that's, I mean, of course, we're going to repress that. And then what's going to come up is just a horror. But the ego can't let us see so much horror all at once. So it defines some things as good and beautiful and precious, like nature. Like nature is so great, but nature underneath, like Ken Wapnick was saying, there's a battle going on.
Oh, yeah.
Within, you know, for nutrients between the trees. And so everything is a battle, everything is split.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go and make a program of watching all the horror films that you can find.
No, I don't need to do that at all.
We have to,
if it comes up, then it comes up, and you can watch it with a purpose. I don't push myself. Like if I'm watching something and I can, but sometimes I can't stand it, and it's fine. I'm like, I can't stand it right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's too much fear. And I don't have to, I don't feel like I have to make myself something that's uncomfortable. Because at some point, like that show that I was watching, Travelers, that I had started a while ago, I stopped at some point because it was very uncomfortable watching these people being tortured. And then when I came and watched it this time, I was watching it and it was nothing. It didn't move me. So at least for me, I don't push myself. If I feel extreme discomfort, I stop it.
Sure.
Perdona que te interrumpiera, Adriana.
Sí, pero you know, that moment of extreme discomfort is the gateway.
Jose?
You can stop it, but you cannot stop watching at your discomfort at that moment and going for the healing at that moment. I mean, finishing the movie has no purpose unless you want to get to the healing. Or stopping the movie has no purpose unless you want to take time to see what makes you so uncomfortable that you have to look the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the moment. The discomfort is showing you that there's an opportunity for healing. And then also when we see all these different figures that have been trying to find the way out in different forms, we have to, you know, be very vigilant not to make the individuals wrong in any way, neither the leaders nor the followers. because we want to use everything for our own healing, and we have to remind ourselves what is the same and what is different. And illusion is illusion is illusion. And in everything, there's an opportunity to heal. So we have to remain very purposeful.
Purposeful.
Purposeful. Con propósito.
Your internet signal is affecting your mind.
It's all the same. The internet and the mind and the body and the whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm good. If you're good,
Sí,
you
sí,
tell
sí.
me.
Sí.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should have a lovely day.
See, we're supposed to get snow here
I
today.
will do the same.
Wow. So you're going to be shoveling snow.
Hey.
Hopefully not too much.
Good.
Or you can stay there and wait for it to melt.
That's true.
Gary, come here. No. There's too much snow in the way. I cannot go out. The snow melts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bueno,
Enjoy your winter.
gracias. Los amo.
Igual, que
both.
tengan un lindo día. Don't break anything.
No.
I'll try not to. Bye.